Hello, everyone. Richard here. Before we start the show, I wanted to take a minute and talk to you in light of sort of the post-election vibes that are out there. I know a lot of people are feeling all sorts of different ways about it. And I just wanted to address that before we get onto the show, because it is kind of a big deal. It might be helpful to go back and listen to the previous episode about becoming neighbors. I would highly recommend you listen to that. It is as relevant as ever right now. But I did want to say that Area Code Batavia was really always meant, first and foremost, for those who struggled to feel belonging in Batavia. The reality is, with a political system that's based on the majority vote, it's inevitable that there's going to be moments when large swaths of our population feel alienated and anxious. And I think it's important for us to be aware of that. I've struggled to feel like I belong in certain contexts throughout my life, and enough for it to mark me. It's why I made the podcast in the first place, really. But for those who are in the minority, for those who are disenfranchised and marginalized because of who they are, belonging in their community might feel particularly unlikely right now. Area Code Batavia was created for really two distinct audiences: those who love Batavia and feel welcomed, accepted, and loved here, and those who live in Batavia and struggle to fit in or find their place. So to those people, I do want to say that there's space for your grief, for your dreams, for your hopes, and for your stories. That's a big part of why I created this podcast, is to tell stories like that. And your stories have a place here. They will make your community better. To those who feel welcome in Batavia, who love Batavia, maybe those who have been here longer, remember that the other group exists. Take time to listen to those who are less relatable to you, who are less represented in our community, on the ballot, in city council, by our leaders, or among their neighbors. Those people are worth caring about, and they're worth fighting for. No community naturally makes all kinds of people feel included by default. It takes work, it takes resolve, and even vulnerability to welcome in someone who's different. Batavia is more capable than a lot of towns in pulling it off, but it is not inevitable. Don't just open your doors. Invite someone in. Once they're inside, let them move the furniture and make themselves at home. Anyway, here's the rest of the show. This season of Area Code Batavia is brought to you by Christine Hartman, a real estate broker with @Properties, Christie's International Real Estate, one of Chicagoland's most trusted brokers, helping you buy, sell, and invest in real estate. For more information and to see how much your home is worth, text HOME to 630-797-8421 or go to christinehartman.com or click the link in the show notes. This episode of Area Code Batavia is brought to you by Bulldog Plumbing Incorporated. For more information or to schedule an appointment, visit their website in the show notes or give them a call at 630-313-9109. Hey everybody, you're listening to Area Code Batavia, a podcast about what it means to belong in Batavia. I am your host, Richard Clark. Hopefully you're doing well. It is Thanksgiving season. I think we can officially say that. Technically, that probably started after Halloween. I think that's the way it works. Isn't that right, Sam?
I would say that you're onto something there.
Cool. Okay, so that's when the Thanksgiving season starts. We're going to talk about that. First, I wanted to just say this is another episode where we're trying something a little different. So if you listen to our last episode, you will know that we're trying a few episodes that are just like talking about specific things, and we're going to riff on them and talk about them through the lens of what it means to belong in Batavia, and then hopefully provide a little bit of a service in that way. Today we're going to talk about Thanksgiving season, what it is like to spend Thanksgiving in Batavia, and specifically what are some things you can do in Batavia to celebrate the Thanksgiving season, and just in general sort of experience in a way that will help you feel like you belong. Today on the show, I am welcoming Sam Kraft. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you, Richard. It's great to be here.
So I've been excited to have Sam on the show for a long time. We've been talking about it for a long time, and I'm excited it's finally happening. One of the reasons is he he creates a newsletter / how do you want to describe this thing? Tri-Cities Central is what it's called to start.
Yeah, so Tri-Cities Central, it's a newsletter first publication. So primarily it's an email newsletter format. It goes out twice a week on Monday and Thursday mornings. What I like to kind of describe it as is like the old school local newspaper in more modern format. Yeah. So it covers Batavia, Geneva, and St. Charles, and basically a what's happening locally type of vibe. So you've got your hard news type of stuff, city council happenings and development projects and things like that, but also some more community-focused things like charitable events and different initiatives like that was generated. It was actually my wife, Katie, was talking about how we're always searching for different live music performances throughout the area.
Yes.
And
Totally.
there's in a lot of ways, there's just no central resource for that. You have to... Sometimes you have to actually call the venues or call the bar or the brewery that you're hoping to see some music at. So I started compiling that and putting that into an easily digestible format. And it sort of grew out of that idea into what it is today.
You just kept expanding it. Because right now you do a lot more than that, it feels like. Do you call the bars to find out what the live music is?
Early on, I did, and I would get into a cadence where some folks would send me an email each week with a list of what was going on and whatnot, and it's sort of evolved since then. Almost everyone publishes it somewhere, whether it's a website, a social media page. They have a lot of places have their own newsletters, so it's been a little trial and error and whatnot, but I've developed a system for keeping track of all that stuff.
I've been reading Tri-Cities Central for months now, and I tell people about it every chance I get. Every time something comes up and I'm like, you got to check out Tri-Cities Central. So I would recommend everyone check it out. There's probably a link in the show notes if I remembered to put it there. I'm sure I did. It sounds like something I'd remember to do. So check that out. We're going to talk about Thanksgiving. This is something people should know about Sam. Right now you live in Geneva, but the headline here is that you grew up in Batavia, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so technically, you're a Batavian, I'm going to say. You don't have to acknowledge our...
once a Batavian, always a Batavian, right?
There you go. That's what we say over there. So can you sort of think of any Thanksgiving memories that jump out to you from your time living in Batavia?
Well, I think an easy one that comes to mind, it wouldn't have been on Thanksgiving, obviously, but my senior year in high school, which would have been 06, 07, the football team went downstate for the state championship game. So it would have been a couple days before. Actually, assuming the game would have been on a Saturday, it would have been a couple days later. My friends and I all piled into a car and went down there for the game in Champaign-Urbana. We didn't end up winning that game, but that was a fun year this was football. Okay. Yeah. That was a fun year with the whole going downstate and getting to the state championship game, which I don't think had happened in quite a long time. The program has since been amazing, but at the time, I don't think it was quite at the status that it's at today.
So you play for the Bulldogs? Then?
I didn't play. I was a spectator.
Oh, you were just a spectator. The we always throws me off. You never know what that means. Okay, so you went to watch the Bulldogs. You were in high school. And it was just like a big thing. Was this like around Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving?
If not within a week or two.
I don't think I've ever put that together, but that is a really interesting like Batavia flavor toward Thanksgiving. Because for me, where I grow up, the day after Thanksgiving is usually the Auburn-Alabama game. So this is the big rivalry because as an Auburn fan, you would watch that hoping you could beat Alabama to salvage your horrible season, which is absolutely the case this season.
Is that the Iron Bowl? Don't they have a name for that?
It's called the Iron Bowl. That's right. Yes. And it's like one of the biggest rivalries. Lately in my life, it's been the time where I am driving home from wherever we were in Thanksgiving. So we're like putting it on the phone and pretending not to look at it kind of thing while we're driving. But this year I'll be here. And so I'm excited about that. That will be my Batavian Thanksgiving experience. Like football is a big deal for communities.
Yeah, I mean, it's the heart of football season. I guess the end of the high school football season. But, you see a lot of people getting the annual family football games going in the backyard and whatnot. I feel like it's just kind of got that vibe to it.
That's very true. It's like a fundamentally American thing. Yeah, it's good. All right, so we are going to talk specifically about Thanksgiving season in Batavia. I was wondering if you could talk about some other Batavian traditions that tend to happen on Thanksgiving. What are some things, if you've lived in Batavia for a long time, I have not. I'm still discovering things. Like, what are some things that you might find are Batavian Thanksgiving traditions?
It's interesting because I actually am not like a competitive runner or anything like that, but I do for exercise a lot. And there's always been a turkey trot on Thanksgiving morning, I believe, as far back as I can remember.
Okay.
I always had friends who would get up at the crack and go do that.
Okay.
I never did, but I did actually look it up. I was thinking about it and wondering if it was happening this year for covering in the newsletter and whatnot. And there's a race called the Fox and the Turkey Run, which I'm assuming is the same thing as the turkey trot. It's just what we called it back then. Maybe it used to be called something else. Maybe it was always this. I'm not certain.
Yeah.
But I know that's a big one. And
it's called the Fox and the Turkey Run?
The Fox and the Turkey Run.
So now there's two animals involved.
Two animals.
Okay, got it.
I believe it is on Thanksgiving morning, 7:30.
Okay.
Kicking off in downtown Batavia.
Well, I emceed the bat race this year. I was asked to MC the bat race, which is a real honor. And also, I think...
Tell me about that experience.
Those marathons are kind of cool. One of the things that struck me was when people finish, they're often distraught. Like, they're not celebrating that they finished a thing. They're
Pure relief.
They're relieved and exhausted and dead. And a lot of them were just like not happy at all. But the actual experience of running was really interesting. As an MC, who knows how I did. But because I had never, A, run in a marathon, or B, emceed anything. And so I was new at both of those things, and I just made the best of it.
I'm sure you're doing yourself a disservice, and you did pretty well emceeing.
Let's go with that. I said things like, and the dinosaurs finishing, because it was like a costume thing. It was fun. Okay, so that's cool. That's a tradition that's been happening for a long time.
Yeah, and I know that there's a charitable component to it as well, which is one of the cool things about Batavia and a lot of the communities around here is that races like that and different community events, a lot of them tend to support some of the local charities. And I believe this one helps support the Batavia Interfaith Food Pantry.
Nice. That's a good one.
Which is a really good one. So if you're looking to do something good during this Thanksgiving and holiday season, that's definitely a good spot to check out.
All right. So next thing we're going to talk about is 3 ways to belong in Batavia during the Thanksgiving season. Sam, what do you got?
I think a good one would be the Celebration of Lights Festival downtown.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is on the Riverwalk. It is the first Sunday in December, which I believe is the first. And did you attend that last year by chance?
Did I attend this? I don't know. I don't know.
Santa comes and, hangs out with the kids and does his thing. There's a big lighting of the tree, I believe.
Yes.
There's hay rides and kids' activities. And
I've been to it before. We went once in when it was like just ungodly weather, just really bad weather. We stayed for a few minutes and then left because it was unbelievable how bad it was.
Well, given the weather this fall, I think we could maybe expect some warmer temperatures. And
let's hope so.
You might even be asked to MC. Who knows?
No, that's Greg. That's Craig. Craig Foltos will MC all the really important stuff, I think, or the mayor. That's usually where it goes between these days.
That's fair. Well, one thing I do like about those downtown events, though, is that it really ties in the rest of the community. Not only do you have the little downtown businesses who usually have kind of ancillary events happening in their space, but local breweries selling their beer on the Riverwalk, local food establishments tend to have tents and things like that.
Yeah.
Live music performances, all that stuff. So it really is kind of a full-blown community experience. And there's a lot more than, just walking around and seeing some decorations and lights and the tree lighting, which is all wonderful.
Yeah.
But, there's a little something for everyone, which I think is cool.
Yeah, totally. It feels like to me in Batavia for these sort of like it's for everyone type of events. It's more than just like it's the entire family, but it's like, all generations, all types of people, just come on out. I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of the winter version, the consolidated winter version of the Windmill City Fest in the summer.
There you go. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's cool. This episode of Area Code Batavia is brought to you by Bulldog Plumbing. I'm not sure if you noticed, it's been raining a lot this summer, but you know who's always ready to help out in these situations. Our sponsors at Bulldog Plumbing. They're the local heroes keeping Batavia basements dry no matter how much rain we get. I've been living in Batavia for about 6 years, and we have yet to have a flooded basement. Well, except for a few times when our laundry sink overflowed. We got a sock stuck in the drain.
That should be probably a cautionary tale for you. Anyway, I'm no expert, but I think the main reason we haven't had flooding from the outside is because of our sump pump. If you don't have a sump pump, you might want to consider it. Bulldog Plumbing has top-notch sump pumps and battery backups to keep your basement completely dry. Unless, of course, you have a sock in your laundry sink. I know from experience, a flooded basement is a headache you don't need. Call Bulldog Plumbing for peace of mind, knowing your home is protected. For more information or to schedule an appointment, visit their website in the show notes or give them a call at 630-313-9109.
And now it's time for another installment of Settling In with Christine Hartman. On each installment of Settling In, we'll spend a couple of minutes diving deeper into what it means to make Batavia home with insights and advice from our title sponsor, local real estate expert Christine Hartman of App Properties Christie's International Real Estate. This week, I talked to Christine about the geography of Batavia and the varied neighborhoods in the town.
Batavia is a lot bigger than people think.
Okay.
I think when people are thinking about Batavia and they're not from Batavia or in real estate like I am, driving all over Batavia, it's hard for you to see where the boundaries are. So Batavia is kind of up towards Fabian. It goes all the way west out to kind of Mill Creek in Batavia, and then all the way south to North Aurora, which is a lot further than you might think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of property, there's a lot of land in between downtown Batavia and its southern boundary, especially on the east side. The east side of Batavia, which is the side that you're on, is enormous. So you're gonna continue to go east in Batavia to Kirk Road and then go south it's a long stretch. There are neighborhoods in South Batavia that are so much further than I thought that there were. And there's a lot of different types of neighborhoods. So Tanglewood, which is on the west side of Batavia, big homes. We've got over $1 million homes in that area. One of my favorite areas of Batavia, just because it's so culturally and historically rich, is downtown Batavia. And that's where you find all the really interesting properties. And a lot of these Batavia homes are kind of like Frankenstein homes.
Yeah.
They start with like the tiny itty bitty little house that it was.
Yeah.
And then, like, I sold one about a year ago that had 5 additions.
Okay.
And it was just like someone had put little Lego pieces around all of the edges of the original property, like on top and on the left. Makes it very interesting for home inspectors, but a lot of these homes have just been adapted over time, like these historic homes, to better suit like family needs or whatever. But yeah, Batavia has something for anybody that wants to move here.
Yeah.
Pretty much, if you give me $1 million budget, I can find you a beautiful home. If you give me a $200,000 budget, it's going to be a stretch in this market, but I can show you something.
Christine Hartman is a real estate broker with App Properties Christie's International Real Estate, one of Chicagoland's most trusted brokers, helping you buy, sell, and invest in real estate. For more information and to see how much your home is worth, text HOME to 630-797-8421 or go to christinehartman.com or click the link in the show notes. All right, what else?
Oh, let's see. For those who are into the theater, and Batavia's got a couple fun theater experiences that folks may or may not know about, but the Batavia Fine Arts Center is one spot that you can go to see performances, and the Fox Valley Nutcracker is going to be there end of November into December. So
Who is performing that? Do you know?
it's the Fox Valley Ballet.
Okay. What else?
Well, I know one favorite Batavia tradition that has resurfaced here in the last couple of weeks is the indoor market over at Grainology.
Oh, yeah,
the indoor version of the beloved farmers market that runs all summer. I haven't yet been this year. Have you? Did you go at all last year or this year?
I might have went once last year. Where is it located?
In Grainology.
That's right. I feel like my wife and kids went and I didn't, but I don't know.
Fair.
I don't have a memory of going.
So, I think it's largely the same or very similar to the outdoor market, but this time of year, a little bit more holiday focus. You still got, your occasional live music. You've got the local vendors and everything like that. So if you're looking for something to do downtown and kind of get involved with other folks and see some people, I think that'd be a good option. I know I haven't been, but it's been highly recommended, and I plan to make it out there really soon.
I think one of the things that kept me from wanting to go for a long time was like, why farmers market but inside? And I think from what I've heard, it does feel like they are turning it into more of a different thing, which is like when you think about, okay, let's do a market indoors, there's a potential to turn that into something that's different and more cozy. And I do think there's some residual stuff from COVID that has maybe kept people from coming out. I don't know why. You know what I mean? There's the vibe of a crowded room. To me, this is the year, right? This is the year where you go try that out. You check it out. And on top of that, Grainology has some awesome pinball machines. Love them so much.
And, I don't know if it's permanent or if it's just on certain occasions, but the local art that they have on the wall, and I think it's available for purchase at certain points.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool component to what they have going on in there, too.
Totally. Yes. Awesome. Anything else?
Yeah, another one that I know is super popular. I think it's only in its third year, but it is the Holiday Homes Tour.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's out in Tanglewood.
Okay.
A couple of different houses. People volunteered they do some pretty lavish decorations within the house, I believe. And the participants get to walk through and see the Christmas decorations and the splendor of the outdoor decorations and whatnot. And then that's followed up with a charity dinner event in the Tanglewood Clubhouse.
Okay.
So that's kind of, like a banquet style dinner.
Yeah.
And the funds from that go to help the 4th of July Fireworks Fund.
Yeah.
So that's obviously another Batavia tradition, and from what I understand is not cheap to put on. So events like this throughout the year, I think, are super helpful in making that possible.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that in 8 months, but so that's a valuable thing for sure. The home tour, is that like free of charge, or do you have to pay for that?
There is a cap on the number of folks that can do it. So I think it's somewhere 60, 70 people or something like that.
You got to register?
Got to register. There is a fee, but it's part of the charitable component. So
got it.
If anyone's interested in that.
Got it. Cool. It reminds me of something growing up in my hometown in Southeast Alabama called the Pilgrimage. You would just walk around multiple blocks and tour these big antebellum homes at the time. And it was just like you would just walk through and look at how it was really interesting because it's sort of like window shopping for homes you would never be able to afford. Kind of like in your newsletter where you're like, a $3.5 million house just got sold in St. Charles or whatever. And you're like, oh, I got to see this, It's probably not $3.5 million houses that you're touring, but.
I mean, for all I know, they could be, but.
It's more about the decorations, I would assume.
I would think so.
Yeah.
And that's not the only kind of decoration related event, going on throughout the holidays. I'm sure Mooseheart will do its annual Christmas decoration festival where you're able to drive through the.
They stopped doing actually.
They did?
Yes. Yeah. They stopped doing it.
Oh no.
Yeah. I know, it's really sad. Is it the Kane County Cougars, I think, or I don't know if they just started doing this, but like they are now hosting something like that. Yeah,
that's actually in its first year. It's called Santa's Rockin' Lights.
Oh, okay.
I think tickets they're already available for that one. So that one's a 1 mile drive-through lights show at the Cougar Stadium in Geneva.
Yeah.
Sets of Christmas music. You don't have to get out of your car. It's supposed to be pretty spectacular. The description is a little light on details, but it sounds like it's a pretty immersive experience. And it's the first time they've done that around here.
Because they talk about it being the longest running like Christmas light show in Illinois. I don't remember exactly how they framed it, but I'm like, wait, but it's the first year here. Where does it come from? What is it?
There are different locations. I'm not sure where it originated, though.
So Santa's Rockin' Lights is probably the thing that's existed in various locations around Illinois, I guess.
I would think so, yeah.
All right. I'm interested in that. We were really sad to see the Mooseheart thing go because that was our tradition. That was like our Batavian light tradition, even though it was, I guess, technically in North Aurora. It went away and we're like, what do we do now? So now we're like scrambling every year to figure out what's our thing we're going to do. So maybe Rockin' Lights is it. I don't know. But like also like figuring out if that's going to be there forever or not, finding traditions is hard.
Yeah.
Actually.
I mean, if you want to venture a little outside Batavia, there's the St. Charles Holiday Homecoming, which is on November 29th and 30th.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So that's their electric lights parade down Main Street in downtown St. Charles. So
I think we've done that before.
I have been to that one in the
awesome.
past. That one's pretty wild.
Yeah.
It's really well done. I believe there's a tree lighting ceremony the night before with that one as well. So yeah, real family-friendly option for you there.
This is where we're pivoting outside of Batavia. So I do want to talk about a few things, like if people wanted to venture outside of Batavia to do some holiday things, to do some Thanksgiving things, whatever, like what could you do outside of that?
In Geneva, so Geneva has a Christmas walk and their own holiday house tour. Mm-hmm. That's an annual tradition, also the first weekend in December. So that one's a Christmas walk on the 6th. A lot of the businesses around there participate in different ways as well.
Yeah.
There's a lighting of the Christmas tree. There's Santa Claus for the kids, all that wonderful jazz. And then the holiday house tour, that's actually 5 different homes around town that are typically historic in some way. So you're able to tour those as well. And it's the light decorations out front. It's the seeing everything inside. A couple of other options if, you're looking to venture a little bit outside Batavia. Maybe you have conflicts on whatever days. That's
cool. What do you do tradition-wise? Do you guys have traditions? You and your wife?
In terms of holiday traditions, I mean, outside of getting together with the family, we do something every Black Friday. We kind of get both sides of the family together and go out somewhere and do some sort of activity.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, there's been at least one person with COVID, but this year we're planning to get it back on track.
Yeah, good. I think the tension that I feel is not having family in town. And I think a lot of people might feel this way where, it's kind of like I mentioned, it's hard to establish traditions. Mm-hmm. But when you don't have that family / support system / just set in stone thing, you can set up something with friends. You can do like the Friendsgiving that you see on Friends. The thing about Friends is they can write into the script that they're always there on Thanksgiving. Like all of your friends are going to be in town on Thanksgiving. Sounds awesome. That would be great to write that in my script, but that is not the way it works. And I'm not even in town all the time on Thanksgiving. It's tricky, but I think one of the things I appreciate about some of the places in Batavia is there are places to go to have tradition. One of the things I'm looking forward to, this may be the first for us, is Friendsgiving, which they're hosting at Sturdy Shelter. I think I mentioned it on a previous podcast. If you listen to the one about becoming neighbors, they're having like a potluck with...
I saw that, yeah.
With all of the, you bring your own dish based on your culture. And I'm so excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm so excited to make some Southern dish and bring that there and try a bunch of other random disjointed dishes. And man, I'm really excited about that. And I could see that becoming like a actual tradition.
Like your family's tradition every year?
Yes. If we're here,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Do you typically travel?
We travel maybe 50%, maybe 75% of the time.
Okay.
It just depends on our parents are both in different, we have parents in Maryland, I have a mom in Alabama, so we might go there, but this year it's just Christmas that we're traveling for. And there's a lot, people are probably screaming at their podcast player. That's the thing. They're probably screaming at whatever speaker this is coming out of, going there are other places who are doing this. So one that jumps to mind is Sidecar, right? Sidecar is doing all kinds of interesting events, and I think that's a really cool opportunity. There's just there are a lot of places to just get indoors with people crammed in a room and experience something every year. And I guess what I'm saying is I'm encouraging people to seek that out and try and stick to it year after year as much as you can. Because there is that feeling for me that I feel of this feels random and arbitrary, especially after Mooseheart's lights go away, that sort of thing really messes with your feeling of this is the normal thing we do kind of stuff. So,
well, especially when the weather gets cold and you kind of go into winter mode.
Yeah.
It's easy to go into into the default mentality of I just kind of want to stay home and watch movies or do whatever. But it might take a little bit of effort in the short term to put yourself out there, so to speak, or try something new, put yourself in a situation that you might not be 100% comfortable in. But there's so many places around Batavia and the Tri-Cities that you can do that and be welcomed and have it pay off.
Yes. In that light, I'm going to leave one little tip that because this is so unrelated and almost counterproductive to what you just said, But as we're moving into the winter months, I'm thinking a lot about what am I going to do in my house all of this time? I'm going to get sick of it. And specifically, how do I keep from just like welcoming the kids home from school and then we eat dinner and then we watch crap on TV? Like that's just all we do. And I've realized in the last year, I can check out anything from any library. Okay. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. And the second step from there, my brain went, I can get board games from Geneva and St. Charles. And there are a lot of board games in Geneva and St. Charles libraries. And that's, for people in Batavia, just know that's a huge resource this winter coming up. Because, yeah, you can just check out stuff, try it out with your kids, and then bring it back when you're done. Maybe obvious to you, but I did not know that until a few months ago.
I mean, board games, jigsaw puzzles.
Yeah.
Those are the types of things
and you can check those out. Right?
Yeah, you can check them out. I wouldn't think of it, throughout 85% of the year, but it's like December, January, February. That's when I'm going to do that stuff. So
Yes, totally. All right. One last question for you. I would like to talk briefly about, just to sort of end on a note of like holiday gratefulness, what is it that Batavians have to be thankful for in this season of Thanksgiving in your mind?
I think what's different about Batavia and the Tri-Cities in general, but Batavia particularly, is that it kind of straddles a couple different worlds in my mind. So today, if you just moved to Batavia within the past 10 years, you probably just consider it a suburb of Chicago, right? But
sure.
My parents grew up in Batavia. It was a small farm town of a couple thousand people, a few thousand people. And it still has a lot of the character from when it was that small.
Interesting.
It has, a lot of families that have been here throughout the generations. It has a lot of businesses that date back to that time period. I mean, the windmill legacy. There's a lot there, I think, that feeds into Batavia's character, but it's also, undeniably grown.
Yeah.
It's become part of a larger, I guess, metropolitan ecosystem. And there's a lot of benefits that come with that, too. You have easy access to the city. You have greater access to different cultural things. We were talking about some theaters earlier. So you have easier access to museums and different activities. And
access to board games.
Most importantly, board games. So you get that nice blend, and you also have its location on the river, which I think is easy to overlook sometimes. But when my wife and I lived in the city years ago, and we were looking at potentially moving to different places, and we always ended up returning to this location, the Tri-Cities, because there really isn't anywhere else around here like it, with these historic towns. They have, charming downtown areas, super interesting businesses, great people.
Yeah.
And you have access to the riverfront path, which after traveling around quite a bit and even traveling, out of state and whatnot, that's a pretty unique and pretty incredible resource that honestly, like, not enough people probably take advantage of.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's funny because, to your point about it being like a suburb of Chicago and thinking of it that way, I did initially think of it that way. But even when I was living in Wheaton, we were looking for a place to live. One of the things that attracted me to Batavia was that it felt like a place where people thought of it as a town as opposed to a suburb of Chicago. They actually wanted to be there. I guess further west you go, you kind of start to see that. But Batavia in particular felt like it was its own place, which I really liked and it's kind of why, for now, it's area code Batavia and not area code Tri-Cities, because I like the idea of leaning into that. But it is, in general, even as a part of the Tri-Cities, it's like an incredible location, and there's a lot there.
I mean, in your conversations with other people about what it means to belong in Batavia, you probably even have a better idea than I do at this point of what makes Batavia different and how different people view its uniqueness and, see their place in it. Yeah,
well, I'm also interested in people who have lived there forever and then just aren't living there, especially someone who just moved next door, right? I think those are important perspectives as well. But I think there's just a feeling in general when I do talk to people about that. I think a lot of what I hear about is just this tight-knit is not the word. That's probably an overstatement. But there's this feeling of collaboration, both among businesses, but also just in general. Like there are people collaborating with other people and this feeling of like, if you start something, people will do their best to help to enable you to do it. You know, you can do the thing you want to do, which I think isn't always the case in these sort of bigger suburbs.
I agree. It feels like there's a network there that you wouldn't necessarily be able to find in a lot of places. I mean, one thing that's different in Batavia I've noticed is the amount of startup or small businesses that share spaces and help each other grow and things like that. I think part of that might be the boardwalk shops and the ecosystem that they've started to develop, because you see some of the graduates from that program move on to get a physical space, and maybe they're sharing it with one or two other people. But that network seems really strong in Batavia compared to other places.
Thanks for listening to Area Code Batavia. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, you should absolutely subscribe to the newsletter. Not only will we let you know when a new episode is out, but you'll also receive a weekly list of 5 concrete ways to belong in Batavia. Just click the link in the show notes. Most importantly, if you know someone who would love to hear this podcast, please share it with them. Word of mouth is the best way to grow our community and help more people feel like they belong in Batavia, Illinois. Area Code Batavia is produced by Area Code Audio. It's hosted and produced by me, Richard Clark, with additional production help from Jennifer Clark. Edited and mixed by Matt Linder.